I want to take you now back to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and it's where we find my colleague Coletta Wanjohi to tell us about what that country is doing in order to mitigate the effects of COVID-19. Coletta, a very good morning to you.
Morning.
Tell us.
Yes, as we're speaking right now, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia has issued new guidelines. And these guidelines, he hopes, are going to help the country combat COVID-19. Specifically, he has said that the national airlines, Ethiopian Airlines, will suspend flights to 30 destinations immediately, effectively. And he has also said that bars and hangout places should be closed down and suspend operations for a while. He's also saying that institutions, religious institutions especially, should be convinced and encouraged to find alternative means of worship. The Prime Minister has also said that they are looking into the prisoners, and for those prisoners who had minor offences or whose release dates were almost near, then they will be allowed to go back home. Overall, he is cautioning against discrimination and stigmatization during this COVID-19 period and asking that people stay vigilant.
Coletta, talk to us. You're talking about the issues of stigmatization, victimization. Talk to us about the issue of fake news, misinformation in Ethiopia. Talk to us about the use of social media. How are people engaging with this pandemic in terms of the messages that are getting out there?
Well, the social media is currently being misused by some people here in the country because we have people labeling foreigners. There's this fake notion that all people who are non-Ethiopians are corona carriers. And we have had people, for example, foreign journalists who are working here. You pass around and people call you corona. You just swallow that in a hard way. And but also we've had foreigners, for example, our colleagues, other foreign journalists, having their pictures taken from their social media platforms and being labeled as corona. Some people working in embassies and other non-governmental institutions have also said that they have been attacked physically. Others have been insulted. Someone said about being surrounded by young people within the town and people saying corona, corona. So all this has been an issue, and that's why we are seeing the Prime Minister coming out and saying that they will be looking for these people who are using the social media badly. Instead of encouraging people to do preventive measures, they're using that to stigmatize people.
How many confirmed cases, Coletta, has Ethiopia recorded?
Well, as of now, as we're speaking right now, Ethiopia has reported 9 cases, positive cases, but it is struggling to take a lot of measures because remember, Ethiopia is the transit center for so many airlines. Yeah. Actually, people call it one of the gateways into the continent, one of the major gateways because of its airlines. So at the moment, you're staying at 9. We have hundreds of cases, about over 100 under quarantine, and other people being encouraged to work from home so as to keep the numbers down.
So with the movement restricted in certain aspects, you spoke to us about the airline industry and the effects there. Talk to us about what about pubs, restaurants, businesses? How have they been affected? What are business owners telling you?
Well, it is really hard, especially on restaurants and hangout joints. We yesterday visited one restaurant right opposite the African Union that was depending on the AU employees for business. And now the guy told us from 30 plates per day, he's only doing 2 to 3, which is really a serious case. And that's spreading across the other parts of the city because Ethiopians have a culture of eating out, taking coffee a lot of times in the restaurants and hanging out a lot. But now with the new restrictions, then the restaurants are feeling it because with social distance being emphasized, then that becomes a hard time. And for them, the government has not yet announced any stimulus that would give them hope during this time. So they are left on their own to try and see how they'll bounce back.
Well, speaking about social distancing, are people taking that serious? The call for, spreading the gap, I guess, increasing the gap between people, but between 1 to 2 meters?
That's the scary bit. Social distancing has not been really embraced here in Ethiopia. If you walk around Addis Ababa, people are still hanging out in the same way. Right? Yesterday, right after the Prime Minister announced the new regulations, people partied. Actually, streets are full. All these small shebeens and small pubs were full, and people partied till morning. So social distancing is still a big thing. And now we are seeing citizens even volunteering to translate messages into local languages and encouraging people to really emphasize on social distancing, because without that, then with the big population that Ethiopia has and the kind of culture of sharing and togetherness, then this could be quite a challenge in terms of combating this.
Because the experts tell us that the more separation you have, it's harder for the virus to jump from human to human, and that's how you break this cycle of transmission. Coletta, thank you very much indeed for your time. We'll try to catch up with you a little later on to get further developments from Addis Ababa.